It's live. Let's see if it is going to go live. Oh yeah! Look at the stream.
Looks like it's live.
The stream key didn't die. Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
2022 doesn't know what just hit.
Things are happening. Things are happening.
We are here.
It's working.
You've reached the end of the internet.
All that's left is cats.
Man, oh man, oh man. Right now, there's 456 people in the world going, WTF, they're back.
Wait,
Yeah.
what? Who is this?
Who are these guys?
I'm still subscribed.
What did I do with you? I thought they all just fell off the planet. New Year, new traditions here on
It is a crazy
Not
place.
Your Average Show. We are back. I'm not going to say it anymore. I'm just going to say, give it a few seconds, right?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I can't hear the music over here, so it's fine.
5, 4, 3. Hey, everybody. Welcome. How's it going? Mike and Corey back at the desk doing what we do. Not Your Average Show 2022 back on the air. How the hell are you?
I am tired. Yeah, so thanks for the welcome back. Hopefully everybody out there checking the video out's had a good new year and you guys have been doing well. Yeah, we know we've had a bit of a break. We'll go through a few of those things real quick just to give you an update, I think. But on my end, so basically we're over here expanding our family.
Yeah.
We got a little guy here. His name is Orion, so pretty cool. We are just dealing with that, our first.
Yeah.
So it's been great, and that's one of the reasons we've been taking a bit of a break. So, but yeah, that's what's going on with me, man. And
okay, so
yeah,
I've been good.
How you been?
So another reason why we took a break is because I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice either to get back in aviation or go follow my old roots, which is the world of information technology, which I have an extensive background in. So I took a job as an IT project manager, which I'm actually enjoying it. So that's a good thing. And we are back. And to reiterate what Corey said, hope everybody really so far has had a great 2022. I hope it's started out better than your 2021. I hope. First of all, I cannot say that we are not grateful for the fact that we actually still grew while we were on hiatus, which is fantastic. We are now just 1,100 watch hours from making it as an affiliate, which is awesome. And we had to take some time off because Corey needed it for family, and I was getting stuff together, and it just kind of coincided that he literally started. You started your family literally 2 weeks after I started the new job. We did one show on the last show was the day I had started the new job, I think it was, and then it was labor, and then it was just craziness, and then it was holidays.
Yep.
Yeah, bye. Everything went goodbye.
Yep.
However, the world hasn't really changed all that much in the realm of technology, and actually, we couldn't have picked a better week to come back because we do have a lot to talk about. First, we have on the list of many silly things, and okay, another thing is we're also changing the format of the show a tiny bit. So there's gonna you guys that are avid watchers will know. And David Cummings, hello, sir. Yeah.
Yes, hello.
Guys,
welcome. Thank you.
We look younger. Haha. You're a liar, number one. But we appreciate that. I don't look any younger, that's for sure. But we do have a lot to talk about. We do have Trevor Jacob, WTF, man. We'll talk about this one. It's made the rounds in YouTube in the aviation lore of. We'll talk about it. Bad. Musk bots, they're coming. Elon Musk drops news about what his future with Tesla and the bots are. Airspeeder pilots, Tesla and their battery production cycles and what that means for future battery tech. And Joby. Yes. Joby makes some news.
We could trigger some people. We can call it Joby if you want.
I'm probably gonna still screw it up, so it's okay. David's right in the chat. Okay. Yeah, the markets. The markets are getting we're not going to make any aspersions as to what the market's going to do because 7% inflation is pretty tough. That's just it's hard. It's it's going to be tough, but it hopefully tech survives. Tech will be good. In other news, I guess Steam Deck is delayed, which it was, right? It was delayed, but the other part of it is now they're saying that I guess because they're in short supply of what they're going to deliver, even though we were like top of the line in getting ours, they're saying now second quarter delivery for us, which I'm a little annoyed at. So, might actually cancel it. I don't know. We'll see.
I thought you were gonna get it and then see what
see what price you get. Other technology upgrades that I've gotten this year. I got a Series X Xbox. That's pretty cool. I got the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which is great, and I just got a Series 7 watch. So I'm back up in my techie world of like maxing it out. That's pretty cool. Excited.
Nice.
And I guess we just should get into it. So
well, I thought one other thing too, just as an announcement, remember, about SpaceX. We're covering launches. There was a SpaceX launch from Cape Canaveral scheduled today at 6:11 p.m. Eastern. It was scrubbed due to weather, or rather moved to tomorrow. So we'll be, we'll maybe take a note of that on our next show. See what's going on. But if you guys have been keeping track, I've been, trying to catch launches too while I've been doing other stuff. And they've been keeping on, landing rockets and doing more good stuff. So
one other huge piece of news that has actually been under, like, it's been happening in the background. Starship is apparently on its way to Space Coast. That is other huge news. I actually forgot that this is even happening, and a few people out there have been paying attention. Boca Chica is probably not going to be the home of Starship because they're having a lot of issues with getting launch windows prepped and ready to go with it being so close to town. And apparently they are currently working on building a launch platform right out on the Cape for Starship.
Yep. Yeah, north of the current pads they've been using, 39A and B, if you know where that's at. North of there, a bit closer to Play Linda. It's definitely not a done deal, but that's pretty exciting. That Starship could be calling Cape Canaveral home.
That could be
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys informed.
Now, actually, I'm going to put you on the spot then. That means that if Starship comes here, we have to start doing live Starship coverage. We have to. I mean,
I would agree.
That would be
I would agree.
A bona fide, we got to
work the details out, but
okay, so some other news. All right. We got a new format. Let's see if you guys can pick this one out here because we're going to try to keep things moving a little differently. And I'm going to lay this one out for you, which is basically in the annals of aviation, what we could talk about very quickly, which if you're avid watchers, Corey and I are pilots. We've flown both helicopters and airplanes. It's great. Awesome. Basically, there's a guy out there, Trevor Jacob, and we're just going to show a quick shot of this video. And from that point forward, the only thing I can tell you is this is kind of a almost verbatim what not to do kind of thing with the world of aviation. And that is strap a parachute on and pretend like your plane's about to crash and then pull one of these joker moves, which is, dive out of a perfectly good airplane. And what I mean perfectly good, there's a caveat there, but basically this guy's saying that his plane was going to crash in the mountains because of an engine stoppage. And that was his solution. His solution was to bail, which to me, I don't know, man. I'm just going to leave it at that. We're going to let all this roll in the background. But yeah, Trevor just exits airplane and says, this is considered my way out. So I don't know, man. There's a lot to say about what not to do. And I guess the first one is, right off the top of my head, he might not have had a radio because it's an older N number in the registration. He left and he had a parachute on his back the whole time because he had a buddy with a bad experience, but he pitched the aircraft for nose up rather than anything else. That was one of his things when he got out of the aircraft. What's your take? Some of the notes that you got on this bad boy.
I mean, there's so many things you could talk about, and one thing we like to try to keep in mind when we talk about accidents, when we used to review in our safety meetings and things, would be to say try not to speculate too much, but just pull out what you can. So that's what we'll do here. And so what we have here is a gentleman that went for a flight. He does wear his parachute. He claims that he wears it all the time. So, okay, if that's true,
Sure.
okay, fair enough. And he, if again, there's so many things we could talk about. I mean, he's over there, and from the video, if you watch the video is just about just less than 13 minutes long. You don't see like what the story. Like, is he going to another airport? Why is he out flying? Because there's none of that. We don't understand why he's flying. All we know is he talks about the plane, takes off. He says he's 20 minutes into the flight, and then engine stoppage, and then you see him obviously having some choice words, and then he exits the plane. And I mean, there's when we talk about just pilot training, you talk about things you do in emergencies. We train for emergencies all the time. What to do, what order to do them, what to prioritize, aviate, navigate, communicate, and it didn't appear to have hardly any of these things. And we could even back all the way up and say proper planning. Like, why are you flying over an area that has no forced landings? Why are you there? Like, what's the purpose? So there's just so much to talk about. It is YouTube. The long and short of it is he did physically crash a plane. He was not in it. He parachuted out. He landed, let's call it safely, because he did make it to the ground. But he's pretty banged up, and of course he's got a buttload of views for it. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know if it was planned or not, honestly. I mean, what do you think, man? I mean, if you trim an aircraft to be trimmed for best glide and all that, and then you exit the plane, all you private pilots and better will know CG goes whoosh out the window.
No, he went out the window.
You just took a whole bunch of weight out. I know.
See, but wait a second.
But anyway, I'll pass it.
So he went out the window.
What's going on?
In perfectly good view of the cameras, by the way, and he did this over the mountains of Colorado, apparently, or maybe California. He was flying out somewhere there. It really doesn't make a difference because David wanted to know what happened to the airplane. It crashed. I just showed you the video. It crashed. It just stopped. Okay, so the thing is, first off, engines don't just stop. They usually give you some sort of indication, but he doesn't give you any pre-story, just like Corey said, which is interesting. Number two, he's got GoPros placed all over this aircraft, and he actually parachutes closer to the airplane to recover them. Okay, so he obviously, just like you said, this is a YouTube deal. He's looking for views. This is an eyeball getter. I know that you start off with a conversation started. It's basically we shouldn't speculate. I'm going to speculate the hell out of this one. This man crashed this airplane for views on YouTube. All right, that's my take.
Sure.
And the last part of it is he got good footage. If you're going to crash an airplane and jump out of it on your own, man, this is the best way to do it because he pretty much made a cookie cutter event for him and him alone. However,
yep.
All over the aviation channels like Pilot Mentor and all other guys that are cover aviation on YouTube have been dogging this left and right. They've also pointed out that this guy might have had a fire extinguisher in his leg, that he may or may not have a type certificate of the aircraft properly and done some work on it so that the engine would have quit. There's a whole bunch of things. So it's really strange. I got to ask you, okay, how many engines have you ever had that just quit on you before in aviation?
Just stopped? That is a 0. I have had partial engine failures and engine failures where it stopped. But then with planes, they might windmill and then start up again for various reasons. I've had partial failures in helicopters as well. But as Mike said too, usually mechanical failures don't just happen out of nowhere, where there's no signs that if you're keen to look for them, you would detect. We don't have any pictures of gauges or anything to know any of that stuff about this plane. So I don't know.
All right. So going with that, aviate, navigate, communicate, right? Some of the areas that we always say in part of airmanship, and part of the reason why Corey says we don't speculate is because we don't know what goes through a pilot's mind in a real emergency. That's if you have a real emergency, right? So David just pointed out, so you literally crash an airplane for views. Yes. And what if somebody landed on some random highway? Yeah. Right. What if this thing crashed someplace? So here's the thing. He picked a spot.
So could we say he's remote for a reason?
Right. He's remote for a reason because he chose a place that would crash into that it wouldn't hit anything. Right. That was his flight plan. The other thing is you got to be some sort of an idiot to put this on YouTube and not think that the FAA isn't going to come sniffing around.
That is exactly the next thing I was going to say when you pass it back. You can't possibly think NTSB and FAA and then legal action is going to come after you because it's freaking filmed. and they're gonna ask you all these same questions. Do you have a flight plan? You were stranded out there. Why didn't you stay with the plane? But if you had a flight plan, why were you talking on the radio? You could have, if you had some kind of way to, uh, if you're flying in remote places, you plan. You
He
take
didn't plan.
survival equipment. You take an EPIRB or a sat phone or something. You plan. You're gonna be so remote in a single engine.
No.
There's none of that. So he's out there talking about needing water. Fair. He needs
Mm-hmm.
water. There's no planning. Like,
Well, wait.
there's no planning, no flight planning, no survival planning.
Well,
I
he had a
mean,
parachute.
as far as we're led to believe,
So
right?
wait, the FAA is going to come knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, this is a really great edit.
Of
Where's the
course,
rest of the footage that
of
shows
course.
engine failure, your decision making process, your airmanship? Where's the rest of your process?" Because they're going to say, if you turn around and tell me that you cut all this footage out and you just randomly deleted all the other junk, dude, this man is going nowhere fast. It's incredible that this is out there. I'm shocked. Okay.
I'm impressed as well. When you showed this to me, I was like,
Yeah, you were
wow,
more than that. No, you were more
wow.
than wow. I said the first comment I can't even
I
say here
was,
on
I
the show
was.
because I was like, "Yep." I was like, "Yes." All right, your last thoughts on this one.
Yeah. So last thoughts for me. I have to obviously say I'm happy he didn't die.
That.
Because I do like to take that, safety. He's out and he can make more videos. But this is gonna
Oh
follow
yeah,
him. Like, it's gonna follow him. He's definitely not done with this.
for sure.
And I'm interested. And since it is a actual crash, filmed or not, we will have an incident
Oh
report on
yeah,
this.
you
It's
will.
gonna happen. It'll take some time, as you guys, if you know anything about aviation, NTSB accident reports, sometimes they take literally years to get the full story, but we'll get
Yeah,
the full story,
we will,
and
and so will.
it'll be following him
Yeah,
around forever.
that'll be
So
over
for
for him.
sure,
All right. Hey, folks, like, subscribe, follow. Let us know what you think in the comments below. This is a controversial one. We're just blowing it right out of the water. We're gonna address some of the. Yeah, it's nuts.
crazy. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the support again. Hit the little bell so you know when we're on next because it's gonna be hopefully one a week now going forward. Just to address some of the things that David's got. I mean, he's got a lot here. So where did it crash? I think it was California. Didn't see it. So yeah, that's part of that's explored in the videos that he was making across. If you want to. Yes, it was deliberate. It seems to be deliberate from what I can tell. My assumption is going to be right now. I didn't see anything that would have said that the airplane should have crashed. That it seemed like there was smoke or bad contaminated fuel. You don't get the run up story, so I'm just going to tell you did it for view.
hmm
You got anything else to say on that one with David's comments?
I'm looking at timestamp 4 seconds. You can see the airworthiness certificate in the plane, but I mean it'd be so hard to make
Right.
out some of the details. I would be interested to know more about the plane. He asked about how much the plane cost. The plane does not appear to be in amazing shape.
It was
Um,
old. Know that.
it's an old plane. I don't actually know. And actually, while we're talking about that, just to wrap it up. Also, did you find the end number?
I didn't look.
Did
I
you
didn't
see
look
it
for it
somewhere?
honestly.
Because if you guys don't know too, if you know an airplane or an aircraft's N number, the registration number that must be posted on the outside of the aircraft, you can look that up and see who's it registered to, what type of plane, what type of power plant. All that's public
Yeah, I
knowledge.
mean,
And I can't find it anywhere in
yeah,
the
and the
video.
sad
So
part is it was a nice tail dragger. It's a plane that probably didn't need to crash. He at least had to have a tail dragger rating. So I mean, he spent some time in getting his ratings, but
yeah, that's the other thing is he's a
yeah,
licensed pilot, or
he was. I mean,
was. He
so
currently is,
here's
yeah.
just a quick shot of the actual video itself. Just we're gonna bring that up. I don't see an N number in the next particular shot that's on screen. And he entitled it "I crashed my plane." Well, guess what? That's not a lie. He crashed his plane. Not I had an engine failure. Not something. He crashed his plane. He gave you the truth right in the title.
Yeah.
He crashed his plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
All right.
Yep. No, I'm
So,
good.
hey,
That's it.
Trevor,
Yeah.
you will not be racing for Airspeeder anytime soon, or maybe you will. I don't know. Maybe they want the attractiveness of. I'm a jerk.
I don't know. He's an actual pilot,
He's not
which
going to
is
be.
funny, right?
He's
He's an
not going to
actual
be an
pilot.
actual pilot for long. That's my interpretation of what's going on. All right. Like, subscribe, follow. We got more to talk about. All right, Corey. I am
Yep.
gonna hand it. Oh, let me go through here for a second, and I'm gonna hand it back to you. And you could turn around and tell us what Elon
Sure.
Musk is up to, and we'll start the conversation now. Go for it.
Cool. So yeah, the next one comes to us from
Actually,
Reuters, and it's Elon Musk bets on Tesla human-like robots and
hmm
self-driving cars. So of course, you guys know we talk about Tesla and Elon here often, and you know also that he's been working on self-driving technology and really, really going forward with that self-driving tech and the visual side, much less lidar and all that kind of stuff. And so this article here actually talks about that in a way he's saying the self-driving component and then also along with that the robots that they're trying to make, which they announced a bit
hmm
ago, is taking a bit of the forefront, coming to be a bit more important to Elon than the
hmm
cars, the $25,000 Tesla that's been teased, but also the Cybertruck actually. So anybody out there who's interested in Cybertruck, uh, that's been pushed back a few times. There's been actually it's been taken off the website. The tech specs of the Cybertruck officially on the website itself have been changing, and now delayed again. So if you had followed our channel, we covered it back there a bit too. That Elon wants to make humanoid type robots that will
right.
do things for
Uh-huh.
to do things. He's really going in with that. So this is more of that to say that 2022 he's going to prioritize the self-driving component of the cars already out, but also robots ahead of new vehicles. So it seems. So,
Hey,
well, yeah. What do you
first
think,
of all,
man?
Sean's got a nice comment in there. We'll have to get to it because he gives us an N number, which is interesting. Hey, Sean.
Hey, Sean. Hey,
Hey,
man.
so
How's it
here's
going?
the
Welcome.
deal, right?
Welcome.
Cybertruck was with the car that was second on my list besides the Golf R, which I actually would purchase. But the fact that it's delayed, that means one less buyer for us. But I also think that, you know what? Look at the competition that's come out against Cybertruck in the short term, right? You have Rivian, right? They got one, right? Is it Rivian, right? Is that the one? Yeah.
Yep.
And you got a couple others right now, the Ford F-150 Lightning, which is coming out. So in a comparative sense of saying that we know that Elon Musk has more than just a car company because he has a neural net that he's trying to build with with what's basically the computer logic on board his cars. But with Starlink combined with his neural net, why shouldn't he start building robots? I understand that he sees this as the next marketplace. So to him, 750,000 truck sales a year, he's making money now. He just sold 100,000 cars to Hertz, right? Or whoever it was. What's he's nailing all his targets. He's got quarterly earnings that are out the
Right.
wazoo. Does he need more? I mean, really? Good move, bad move.
I mean, he's got so many irons in the fire, as we know, right? I mean, he's obviously got Tesla, but he's got SpaceX, he's got
Mm-hmm.
Starlink, he's got brain's kind of out of there too. Trying to go to Mars, obviously with
Yeah.
Starship, which is definitely exciting. But he's doing so many interesting things. Oh, he's also got the chips in
Yeah.
the brain.
The neural net.
I forgot the name
neuro
escapes
something.
me, but
Neuralink.
Neuralink. He's also got Neuralink, which a lot of scientists have been talking about that lately, which we could maybe get to another time too. But yeah, he's got so many things going on that I
Is
don't
he
know.
getting
Yeah.
too thin? I mean, so here's the thing, right? If he wants to be first in a marketplace with a robot called Optimus and do this deal, right? That's great because he's great at first at marketplace. He's shown that he can do it with Tesla first marketplace. He's in good shape. But is he stretching this too thin because he just wants to land another product before? Look, there's a lot to be said that if you get into a marketplace before anybody else, it makes a huge deal, right? And he's proven that with Tesla as well. And with SpaceX, he got in there first as a privateer company, and he's making hand over fist right now. But is he getting too thin with this? Is he just stretching this to be his next parameter for a sales pitch of being the first humanoid marketable robot, and that's his deal?
I mean, lots of people could say that, and people have been talking about Musk at least in that respect since the beginning. When he was at least just a Tesla, even in the amount of time per day he would spend there, and tons of people would talk about he's spreading himself too thin, and that's definitely something you could say here too.
Yeah,
Of
I
course.
think, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's got to
Yeah.
rebuild. He's got to take the infrastructure on for Tesla to take it. Now that he's going to now allow other drivers to use Tesla's charging stations, right? He's got a lot of infrastructure building to do. I think Neuralink scares people.
Of course, yeah. I mean, as soon as you start, I mean, that's edging in medical field. I mean, you're stepping in other places, and yeah, it's going to be plenty of people talking
Mhm.
about that anyway.
Would you buy Neuralink?
Currently, no. I mean, not that I'm not interested in knowing more about it and how it works, and see the potential if it worked as advertised in the future and had no side effects. But I mean, again, we're talking about brain surgery here. I
No,
mean,
no.
currently no.
Well, David seems to think it's going to flop. If it flops in your brain. I'd hate to see a hard reboot, right?
If you
blue screen, it's a hard reboot's going to really suck because you could be talking about, well, could you imagine sitting at dinner and you just lose 20 minutes and your wife turns to you, honey, we had to reboot you, and you're like, what? Who are you? Oh God, it's a memory fault.
Whoops.
Oh no.
Got to rebuild that raid.
Right.
So you're just sitting in the corner while your raid rebuilds itself.
So, in the end alls of end alls, you're a Tesla owner. How do you feel about the news about no new Tesla models and the fact that the Model 3 that's supposed to be praised at making it down into that acceptable range of down market for Teslas?
Oh, the Model 2? Yeah.
How do you feel about now your model's at least going to be, the lowest, well, not the lowest, but at least one of the Tesla models that are out there that's going to go on unchanged for another year. But the fact of the matter is, it's not going to cheapen the brand by bringing in a cheaper model Tesla either.
Right. I mean, on my end, my car's, so if you didn't know, I have a pretty early Model 3, pretty early version Model 3. And it's been running quite well. I've had very, very few problems with it. So I like it, of course. But you can't stay stagnant in any market. And of course, cars, he's really pushed for the big push in EVs since Tesla's been around. And I am interested to always see what they have coming next. So for them, for Tesla itself to say, we're going to prioritize completely other things that are tangentially related to cars, I think they should keep striving to push ahead. And actually, part of that pushing ahead and being a leader goes with one of our topics coming up about batteries. So okay, they're doing some good stuff with batteries, but I still think they should be working on cars, at least some.
I wonder if this signifies the fact that he just believes that Cybertruck just doesn't need to be in the marketplace right yet because it's different than Rivian, it's different than the Ford F-150 Lightning, it's got different parameters, and maybe he just feels, hey, mine's like the Hummer of all these vehicles, and the Hummer really isn't the Hummer of all these vehicles either. None of these are really preparing to be just off-road dogs that can do it all, and his is kind of approaching it from a little bit of a different perspective. I don't know. Interesting. It's interesting to hypothesize though, because if he does make the robot successful, there's a lot there. But then again, David says nope, it's going to turn around and flop. So he thinks not Neuralink is going to flop. He clarified that he thinks the robot's going to flop.
Right. Yep.
Who knows? I don't know, man.
Yep. Anybody out there got a stake in Cybertruck or anything? Anybody out there?
I would have put my money down on Cybertruck, and I thought about it. I really did. And look, if it comes to fruition, and if I have an electric vehicle of choice, it's going to be Cybertruck. I know people think it's.
Well, I know there's two versions right now, or two sizes.
No. What?
Yeah, there's going to be a smaller size and then a full size. I don't know what they're going to call it, but there's a smaller version of the Cybertruck, and then there's like a full size now, supposedly.
That fits.
Among other things, right? It's got crab mode and motor upgrades and other stuff. But
that fits. I mean, but no new models. So now the other part of it is that means no Roadster. That means no Semi. That means
I don't know about the Semi. Yeah, I don't know about the Roadster.
And what doesn't really, I think the stock doesn't really make a difference because the stock market's going to take another hammering for the rest of this year anyhow. I think 7% inflation is going to have a toll. All right, I think, man, a lot of comments in there. Thanks, Dave. You're blowing
thanks,
it up.
Guys. Thanks everybody in chat. It's amazing.
But yeah, that's a lot to talk about. Take them home.
Yeah, so please like, share, subscribe. Thanks so much for guys hanging out and talking in chat. Let us know what you like. Put some stuff down in the comments. We'll love to hear from you guys. And thanks so much.
I think next week we should talk about, is that robot creepy? Is it too creepy to have like a humanoid robot?
I think people will always say they're creepy. Especially how autonomous they are, right? Because if you have, we're just at the end of this one, but right, if you have a robot that, the better the artificial intelligence gets, that can react on the fly to whatever input you are providing to it, like say having a conversation with it, the closer it gets to human
Hmm.
reactions, the more creepy people are creeped out, right? Once you're talking to an AI and then it doesn't know what you're saying or it makes some comment that makes no sense, then you're like, okay, whatever. But if it was legit, like telling you stuff about yourself or having really deep conversations, then you're like, ooh, this is just a machine. Like, this
Right.
is creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy. David asked us, what do we think about the Bellwether EV toll? And that's the one that we looked at a few months ago, which is basically the one that they had that was parked in a garage, and had that very fancy ducted airwork. They basically put one of these together and did a quick demonstration.
Oh,
Yeah.
this one. Yeah.
Guess what? I think it's vaporware at this point. I'm not really too secure in the fact that a company that has to throw together a cheap model like the way that they did and the flying demonstration, it was imbalanced, and that was not the way that I would have dog and ponied something that carries that kind of weight. So yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, they're claiming really high
Yeah.
top speeds for just, I may be wrong here, but just like what a quad looks like with
Yeah.
the full body on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
we'll check back with Bellwether, okay? Because
Yeah, I have to refresh my memory, to be honest,
the fact
guys.
of the matter is, and you know, I'm going to put this one down there because we'll talk about it on the next episode, or remind me to talk about it.
Yep.
EV toll, because honestly, I watched a video on it and I was like, whoa, that's not cool. Like, it wasn't stable. It didn't really seem like it was going to do what it needed to do to stay competitive in the marketplace, especially when you have other companies that are coming up that are about to do some major business in that area. So that's my thought, at least. Which is the perfect lead-in, by the way, because the very next that I would talk about, actually, would be none other than, well, the one that I can't pronounce. We'll talk about it.
Do it. Do it.
No. Joby. Okay. Joby.
Joby.
All right, here it is.
Joby.
This is
triggered
right. This
now.
one's from New Atlas, right? We're just talking about it very, very, very quickly here. New Atlas has this article out that's basically chiming in that Joby, the S4, hits 205 miles an hour and flying further and faster than any VTOL to date, which is fantastic because it means that Joby's really in the space right now where they are looking to what? Joby?
No, it's fine. Keep going.
I'm good. Okay, good. Don't mess with me. Anyhow, so they're really in the space right now to do what they say that they can do, and right now they are at least making no longer big circles than that they were making 3 months ago. They're taking the right steps to get this thing certified, to put it out there in the marketplace. You know, my heart's on Jet Up Terra. It doesn't really make a difference what these guys do because in the long term, I think Jet Up Terra is still going to dominate the marketplace. Doesn't make a difference. However, it's still flying empty, 4,000 pounds, and it's still going remote. And
so on my end, so if you look at their Twitter, they have one of the Twitter from back in January 21 of this year. They say, achievement unlocked, speed 205 miles per hour, true airspeed. Our first pre-production aircraft just completed what we believe to be a fastest flight of an eVTOL aircraft to date. And then say next stop, 10,000 feet. So 205 miles per hour true airspeed. Yeah, good. Again, you mentioned it's 4,000 pounds, but unloaded and remote, so nobody's on board. But then also 10,000 feet, so I guess they're talking MSL, probably 10,000 MSL. And you know, we've mentioned this before. As pilots, we want to know, like, okay, like what density, altitude, what, you know, we want to know all the little specs about it. And I know it's just a Twitter feed, I get that. But I guess just trying to see real world applications, like flight weight, maximum flight weight, like how fast you can go, what's our endurance, how far can you really go, you know, what's the weather conditions, is this perfect weather. If you guys are keeping track and you're a little bit keen with pilot lingo, 10,000 feet MSL means places like Denver where you're really high already, you're not going to get that much altitude above the ground. Plus the density altitudes out there, and you're going to lose performance and things. So again, it's this is just a snapshot of things, but I'm not trying to discount them making progress because we know they have tons of backing, and they are making progress in certification as well with the regulators. So we'll keep watching it.
Yeah, so first of all, I think when we're talking about things like this, right? Corey goes into a lot of the bold claims, but the fact that they're making good on some of their lower claims, awesome. I will always go right into this. What is your weather survivability? Can you go in icing? Once you're talking 10,000 feet and you're talking about daily usage, especially even this weekend in Florida, it's going to be sub-freezing temperatures, right? For a couple
Yeah.
of times at
Yeah,
night.
that's
And that
crazy.
means that if you hit a
Yeah.
cloud at those temps, guess what? Your airframe is going to be warm enough because you're not going to be in this environment where you're very, very high altitude, where you might pass through a section where you're going to incur severe icing, okay? Depending on what you enter as a cloud type. Can it survive icing? Can it fly in inclement weather? What's going to be the max crosswind that this thing can land in or operate in, right? When these nacelles are pitching. So there's a lot of questions out there that still need to be answered. But they're generating hype. Is hype going to sell this thing?
It's going to bring backers, which may be their short-term goal anyway,
Sure.
right? It's going to bring backers, going to bring more capital. So their PR department's doing exactly what PR departments do. So
Beyond PR, though.
But all the things you said, right? Technical specs, flight into known icing, or IFR certifications, types of GPS approaches to heliports or vertiports, specific vertiports, because they're not right. None of these eVTOLs are really aiming to operate out of an airport, traditional airport, which they shouldn't have to, and ATC probably doesn't want them to anyway. But in inclement weather, they are going to need to figure out how they're going to operate, or can they operate in that kind of weather. And then also, I bring this up often, but remember, these are being touted as passenger vehicles. So you have non-pilots wanting to get on and go somewhere in these things. And if the weather's crap, right, the capabilities of a small craft like this and how it's going to handle inclement weather doesn't match what you're going to get at like a 747.
No, yeah.
Right? If you fly some crappy weather in a 747, depending, you might not even notice. And this thing, you're going to notice, and not everybody's, one bad flight on one of these, whether it's kind of, they get a little bit scared or worse, and people are just not going to do it anymore. So,
well, comment in there. David wants to know if we plan on getting our eVTOL licenses, if that's the case. Look, if they make them manned,
I'm definitely interested in knowing more about it. I would be certainly open to doing it. Why not? Yeah, if there's a rating and it's come through the pipe.
Now,
sure.
Now the other thing I can also say that probably with our hours, if there's a combined license that this says you need fixed wing time and helicopter time, we've got it. We're well in the margin to just simply snap our fingers, show up, jump in the aircraft, learn it, and go fly. So that's true. The other parts that to me is they have to establish the lanes now of profitability, right? The lanes of profitability are going to make a difference for Joby, because the one thing that they don't have going for them is supersonic speed, or the ability to turn around and make quick, fast, low speed, high speed jaunts. But at 205 miles an hour, they have hit that magic number for me where they get fast enough to smooth out the ride for the most part, right? Roughly 130 knots or below, the ride can be truly a little brutal. You can get tossed around a little bit more than you think. You break 130 knots and actually you kind of fly through stuff a little bit quicker, where it doesn't affect the aircraft in quite the same way that you would expect. Now, if that's truly the edge of their envelope, though, VNE, and it doesn't give them max cruise, and you don't get good performance numbers like Corey's mentioning, and we don't see the full specifics on what the aircraft actually does, it could just be a numbers game where you just go 205, great, we're fast, but we can't go very far.
Yeah, that's like setting like you said, like setting VNE 205, but they're never going to go They're never going to go 205 in practice. I don't know about that. And I had to look down here again. It says it's important to note that Joby's record figures were both probably set flying empty and about 4,000 pounds and via remote. So again, nobody's on board. But yeah, again, weight is going to factor into that too. Endurance, speed, and of course, how it rides.
Yeah, and that's going to make it so. Jury's still out. Okay, we want to see this marketplace become successful, but I think that speed hypothetical distance ratio is got to be 200 plus almost all the time, and you've got to be able to get in and out of 10,000 feet with relative consistency, and you got to be able to do it for over an hour and a half. I think those are the big block numbers that are going to make this difference, because then you're truly a competitor. If not, you got something more special than helicopters, but beyond that, you can handle the urban air mobility as well as the long range jumps that people are really going to make a difference in how they view aviation. For say, like I see a perfect example of this is I want to get from say the east coast of Florida to the west coast of Florida, and I don't want to drive, right?
Yep.
That to me is like a perfect one right there. That's 200. That's about 130 miles. Straight across to vertiport to vertiport. You're crossing weather, but you're not spending time on I-4, and there's a moneymaker for you. Or
you're hitting that exact model you're talking about there hits on Lilium's aim. Lilium is aiming to do exactly what you're talking about, and they have already and you guys might know, we've talked about it. They're already trying to get infrastructure in for vertiports to do exactly that in Florida, actually. Major cities to major cities, Tampa to Orlando to Miami, that kind of thing. So Lilium is another one to watch with just exactly that kind of use case.
All right, folks, like, subscribe, follow. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Joby's making headway. There's lots of competitors out there. Haven't heard a lot from Archer in a long time, actually, which is kind of interesting. So Joby making waves in this fact, and the way that they're moving the air around. Lilium's been flying their models around too. So those two competitors are emerging as probably the ones to watch for the short term. Let's see what happens. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think. Thanks for the likes, the subscribes, and the follows. Okay. I forgot.
David's got a comment there too about Airbnb and Uber, or sorry, Blade Mobility, which we have talked about before. Blade Air Mobility.
No, go ahead.
Remember them?
Put me in on your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, weren't they the ones like Blade was operating like out of the heliports in New York for a while? That's Blade, right?
Yeah.
That same company.
Oh yeah, Blade is definitely the one that was out of New York, so that's for sure. That's one. And then Archer's a joke.
Oh yeah, like no, yeah, David. Fun story. I tried to find that vertiport in Lake Nona, and I found where it's gonna go, but you can't get there.
You can't get there.
When I was there, it was behind a fenced area. You couldn't even get down the road that it's supposed to be on. Plus, Mike can elaborate. They're having trouble with MCOs, ATC.
Well, the area that we hypothetically think that it's gonna go. And not almost hypothetically, but the place where it should go right now, what they're thinking of, is going to be competing for airspace by MCO, and MCO is giving them a little run for their money because
that's Orlando International.
Orlando International. So there's a little carved out, and so look, that's going to be the challenge. Like we said, the infrastructure for this stuff doesn't exist yet. The fact that it flies is great, right? Now they got to make the infrastructure, and they want to make it remote pilot or pilotless. That's a whole nother ball game. So there's work to be done.
Oh yeah, geez, just getting them flying, and then and then taking the pilot out completely. That's
okay. Let's move on. Am I doing the battery one? Did I forget? Hold
on. Just do it. It's fine. I think
you're doing the battery.
But
you're doing it. You're doing it
back and forth.
You're doing it.
Okay, fine. You want me to hit it off?
Morning after.
Cool.
Heat up, and you are ready to rock and roll, sir. Go.
Boom. Cool. So this next one comes to us from Engadget, and I have another article down below that kind of elaborates, but this one is Panasonic's higher capacity Tesla battery could appear next year. And so next year they're saying, this was an article from January 25, so they're saying not this year, but maybe next year. And so this basically says that you guys know Panasonic's been working with Tesla for batteries for a while now, and the next version of their batteries, the 4680 is what they're calling it. And that's they're really touting a few of the major improvements over their current tech with this 4680. And the second link down there, you guys can check it if you want. It dives into the bunch of the actual, like, why is it better? How is it going to be better? Like numbers and stuff. And I can mention a few of those, but the big thing is, right, if we talk about EVs, and this is Tesla in this case, but remember, this is technology that will maybe make its way to other vehicles, like maybe airborne EVs and stuff. So battery capacity is always something. It's always on people's mind, right? How much do the batteries weigh, and how much flight time or driving time? How far can you go with these things? Of course, right? So any breakthrough in battery tech is a good thing currently. So, but about these battery improvements in batteries, they're going to be bigger, but they're going to give us more range. And actually, I'll pass it to you real quick, and then I can talk about some of that. But what do you think?
Battery improvements.
Of course, the 4680 we've been hearing about for a while.
Basically, we know the guys at Redstone turn around and ixnayed on Tesla. They bounced. They started their own battery company, and Tesla obviously responded by basically saying, we're going to be the first ones into the space with these new batteries and basically go with solid state, or if not better, our extraction materials, which you pointed out in a couple of videos that we've done before, that they're going with a high saline solution content, what extraction process that yields more lithium, right? We
Oh,
talked about that a long time
yeah.
ago. So look,
Yeah, yeah.
Tesla's making the rounds. They need this to stay ahead of the game in the EV market, right? Lucid, gotta say this. Lucid has a gorgeous
Yeah.
gorgeous aircraft, gorgeous car on the roads right now. They're pushing the range. They have to bully with Tesla a little bit and basically say, "Hey, look, we're gonna steal your range. We might not have this, the Plaid going yet, but we're gonna steal your range. We're gonna steal your thunder. We're gonna get your luxury going here. But you have to have an answer. And if
Mhm.
my prediction, if Tesla doesn't have this answer coming out in the next, I'd say 6 months to a year, they lose or have the potential to lose a leadership position in EVs.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of, we were mentioning this in a previous segment. Just the show, even that Tesla in a way had said we're going to look at robots instead of and self driving over other stuff like new cars. So kind of slowing down there, but I did want to say in here, this new battery tech, they still are pushing forward, at least with Panasonic, pushing forward to make these new battery tech. And of course, it is something that they need to keep doing, and it helps everybody. So, I mean, about this battery, real quick, I mean, it is a bigger physical
Mhm.
size battery. But it is, they're claiming that it's going to have 5 times the energy, about 16% increase in overall range, and more power in the pack that it can deliver. And so just form factor has changed a bit. But really, it's not just the battery itself. They've got some tech in there that changes how they use the silicone in the
Mm.
actual cell. That is something that nobody else is doing, which helps them uh, bring the weight or bring the cost down. And that was one thing I want to just mention before, certainly before we leave the segment, is they're claiming that it's going to be actually cheaper to make these cells and they're going to
Mm.
perform better. So it should be a win-win. We'll have to see when they get finished and actually installed in people's hands. They can actually use these new batteries. But I would recommend you guys check out that second
Mhm.
link down there from Clean Technica. It talks a bunch of stuff if you're into like how they actually use the cathode and how they making improvements there. How they actually doing with the silicone in the cell, like why is it better? All that stuff's
Yeah.
in there. A bit longer to cover here, but if you're interested in the technical stuff, yeah, go check that out.
It
It is
is actually
interesting.
really interesting. Now, the other thing is that this might stop the bad publicity of Tesla having cars blown up on YouTube because it's too expensive to actually replace the battery cells in them, number one. And I wonder how this actually fits into the throwaway disposability conversation of at what range do you offset the fact that if you know you have to replace batteries at a certain time in the life cycle of the vehicle, right? Does
Right.
500 miles of range over a 4-year period, okay, suddenly make a Tesla a better buying proposition because well, you didn't have to stop so many times out of the 5 years or the 4 years of the life cycle of the battery, you actually got the range that you expected. You didn't have to suffer through range anxiety, and it's worth it for you to
Right.
go back in at that price, say $12,000 or $8,000, and rebattery your vehicle if that's the only maintenance you have to do on it, right? Other cars you got to do a lot more maintenance on, possibly drivetrain, brakes, blah blah blah. Maybe this is your only maintenance, and maybe for the life of a 10-year cycle now in a Tesla, you can count on maybe just an 8 or a 6 grand charge to replace the batteries all of a sudden. That changes the ballgame a little bit, and it gives Tesla another first.
Yeah, and remember, Tesla's also just like Apple in a way. They're also going in to see how much they can recapture when they do recycle these cells, and in a way bringing down the cost to have to have to recycle to have to redo these batteries. But I think as you're talking there, I was thinking to myself, okay, yeah, range anxiety is always a thing, but people are always interested as well. Okay, if I get my gas car and I want to go somewhere, I can just get in the car and go, and then when I need gas, I just stop and get gas and just keep going. The supercharger network that Tesla's been very good at putting in, and was a leader in everywhere getting the supercharger network in, as you mentioned before, right? We don't want to forget that they're opening that up to other vehicles now. You're not going to be just having your Tesla there. And there's been talk, and they've already been doing it. I think it was in Norway where they were allowing other EV users to see, to actually use the
Mhm.
Tesla app to see where the supercharger was, if they could, if it was available, how many stalls, charging stalls are available. and that's going to be a thing too, so that other companies will be able to use the supercharger network. So for me myself, that is something I do think about, because I have a Tesla, and I'm not getting a new battery upgrade or nothing. I have what I have. So when I go on road trips, I'll need to charge. If I suddenly get somewhere and there's 4 stalls or whatever, and they're all taken up by some other car, I mean that does means something to
I
me. I can't just fill up my car because now I'm waiting for somebody else in another hybrid or whatever, because now they can use it too. And I'm like, oh,
That also comes to think right now. I wonder.
yeah,
I wonder if they were forward thinking enough to understand how they spaced these chargers. If well,
they were.
thinking about that range was eventually going to get further, right? So that eventually, at some point, their intermediate stations that might be smaller that they placed, say, in a Target parking lot as compared to, say, a full-on supercharged station.
They
Right?
did.
They did,
They
right?
did. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes.
that brings
Yes.
up some
Yep.
interesting points because look, as battery tech changes, the landscape's going to change. I'm sure that
Hmm.
the buying power of Tesla took a little bit of a hit, um, or their selling power, I should say, took a little bit of a hit, saying no new models for this year because the people that were anxiously awaiting
Right.
Cybertruck, so on and so forth. But if they the
Yeah.
Model
Model
2, but if
2. Yeah. Some of the overseas
right, but if
markets.
they deliver longer range, cheaper batteries, um, I think they still win. I think they need it, but I think they still win.
I mean, if you can roll out and get let's say a Model 3 or a new S, maybe next year, and it's got 500, 600 miles of range, and it's the same price as it
Today,
is last year.
dude, a 600 mile range Tesla suddenly has a whole new appeal to me where I go,
But yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's what I
like a
mean. I mean, again, you go Cybertruck, because we always talk about, how useful is an electric truck going to be for
yeah.
range. I know everybody watching is going to be like, oh, the torque on electric. I know torque on electric, amazing, but how far can you tow something that's thousands of pounds? How far can you really get with electric? Because
Okay,
that's
so
part
now
of it.
now you
So,
got me
but yeah,
someplace else because then Elon Musk says it right here in his own words. Important role about Tesla Battery Day unveiled tomorrow. This affects long-term production, especially semi, Cybertruck, and Roadster. What
Mhm.
we announced is not to reach
Yep.
serious high-volume production until 2022. So wait, you're right because
Mhm.
now you delay Cybertruck by a year, but it comes out and it can tow 6,000 pounds, but it can do it 120 miles further than the F-150 Lightning or
Mhm.
Rivian. Wow.
Yep. Yep. You delay it because you got some really good stuff up
Yeah,
your
then
sleeve.
you're suddenly,
Um,
oh, good point, man. That's a good point. I didn't think about that one.
but
But uh hey, you know what we got to think about? Moving on.
yep. Yep. Yeah. So thanks so much, guys. Tons of stuff to talk about in this particular topic. Again, check out that second link. Lots of good information for all you people who want to know the nits and how it all works. It's just very interesting. So please like, share, subscribe. Thanks so much for the support, and we'll keep bringing this kind of
Yeah,
stuff to
and
you.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And David came up with a comment. You got to crawl before you walk and baby steps. Yeah. So here's the thing, right? Tech is we're going to come under a situation, I think, in the next 6 months where some of this tech is going to cool off. Venture capital money is going to dry up as people aren't making as much money in the stock market. And that's going to solidify the fields in battery technology. It's going to solidify the fields, say, people are going to suddenly drop out of the eVTOL market because there's not going to be as much money out there to be thrown around. There's going to be a
Right.
contraction, right? When that contracts, a lot of the underlings in these industries are going to contract right along with it. But we'll see. We'll see who really gets affected. But battery tech, I'm really interested to see how that Redstone company is going to hold on there and what they're going to do. Yeah, the
Solid
solid
state.
state stuff.
Yeah.
That's going to make a difference.
Yeah. That quick. That stuff we just talked about. That's not solid state tech, right? So that is something to know. That's a whole
Yeah,
nother
yeah,
thing to
yeah.
talk about. So yeah.
Okay. So moving right along, the last one that we got here is what? It's the Airspeeder, right?
It's the
It's the
Airspeeder.
Airspeeder. And guess who's
Speeder.
wait, did I do my I did my two, right? I did my yeah.
Yeah, this is technically still
You've got
mine.
Airspeeder, sir. Go ahead.
Ba-boom.
Yeah,
You
it's
ready?
on.
Hello, and so yeah, this next one is coming to us from
Mm.
Motorsport Tech, motorsport.tech, and it's basically referring back to the Airspeeder reveals first pilots for groundbreaking electric flying car series. So, if you keep a track of Alauda Aeronautics, they developed a racing series for eVTOLs, airborne eVTOLs, called Airspeeder, the Airspeeder Racing Series. And so the Airspeeder Racing Series has announced that they have selected the first 3 human pilots that they are going to have in this racing series. And again, the whole idea here, if you talk about airborne racing, with whether it's drones or quads, they're all unmanned. This series, Airspeeder, just to refresh you, is talking about the first manned racing series for eVTOLs. It's supposed to start this year, 2022. So we're gonna see. They've already had some racing between the Mark III. There's a video that we covered a while back, but that was unmanned. Nobody were on those, and so they've selected the 3 pilots. I know you had a few things. Do you want to talk
Sure.
about pilots real quick?
There's
Pass it to you.
So yeah,
Okay.
we basically have in this lineup. It's kind of interesting. We have Emily Dugan, right? She's a race car driver, right? That's interesting. But the other part of it is we have I can't even pronounce this something Walsh. There we go.
Yeah, I think it's
Zefatali
Yeah,
Walsh, right? Awesome.
probably
And
messed it up.
and then we have
Excuse me.
Fabio, right? Tischler, right? It seems like. But here's the problem.
Yes.
None of them are
Yes.
actually pilots. We have a race car driver and 2 remote pilots.
Yes.
None of them are actually people that have actually piloted a vehicle before, which means I hope they're getting yeah,
That we can tell. Yeah.
look, they're in the same genre, not knocking, because putting sticks in certain aircraft, right? Like sometimes when I fly a drone, I have a problem adapting myself to the drone because my primacy is an actual real aircraft and not in positioning myself to a remote piloting aircraft. That means that these people have a different skill. They'll be able to transition that skill differently. But it doesn't mean right now that they have basically possibly the ratings that are necessary, or there's a category that they can actually fly in yet in that class. So I just had to point that out. So continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of, as we talked about some of this stuff before, and talked about some of the tech that's going to go in here. They're talking about having some automated systems that keep the vehicles away from each other, whether it's vertically separated or horizontally separated, just so that things don't go bump. Because as the racer, Emily will tell you, there is bumping, there is rubbing and racing occasionally, and things do get bent up. But in a car, there's just, I won't say less risk, but as we talked about sometimes in aviation isn't necessarily more risky. It's just very unforgiving, right? When you bump into stuff when you're flying, whatever you bumped into has a big problem. It's not the same. You can't pull over. If you bump into the earth or another aircraft, bad stuff happens. And it's just less forgiving than bumping into somebody in your Holden V8 supercar, which is super cool too. And fair enough, I'm not knocking their skills,
or hope their skills don't knock them into something else
in this particular application, because it is going to be something new. It does talk about in here that they're going to log at least 2,000 plus hours collectively between all of them on a 6 degree of freedom VR sim to prepare them for this kind of series. And I'm interested to hear more about the actual schedule, testing, and see how this really works. It is kind of exciting for sure to see. They've previously said it'll be like F1 version of like
Is Red Bull still going on? Because I could imagine that this could dovetail right into the back of or an exhibition part of a Red Bull race, right? Somewhere.
I imagine that might happen, because actually, if you look up, I think Fabio
So here's the thing. I mean, if they approach us, I would throw my hat in the ring for this, right? Nobody's approaching me. I don't have a following. I'm not a social media star. I've never, I don't have that type of pedigree to say that I could throw myself in there. I probably could do pretty well. I would love the opportunity. So again, we're not really knocking them, but difference is, let's see how well they're going to really race when they get these things all together, right? And how that's going to go down for a racing quote unquote air series.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It sounds really cool. We'll just have to wait and see how close it can get to F1 of air racing. Well, what kind of, because you're going to lose some of the, it's going to be new and interesting, but you're going to lose some of the things that may be attracted to pure motorsport fans, right?
No drafting. That'd be bad.
Yeah, no drafting. The noise is going to be different. When you're talking about race series, anybody in the comments might have a little bit of opinions. If I asked you, how did you like Formula E or any of those electric Formula series?
Ooh, sorry.
It wasn't received as well as they had hoped it would be received. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see what happens.
All right, we're out of time. We gotta bail.
Yep.
But we are going to be committed at this point to bringing you one show per week, probably Thursday nights, so you can set your clocks to it, and hopefully you can maintain that schedule. And if not, we'll find a way to fill it in for you. I am off to the Rolex this weekend. It's going to be cold. I'm going to do some basic video shooting this year. Very, very interesting. But hey, we're out of time. We'd like to thank you for your time. And that's all I got for today. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. And I think we're losing
I was
some
just about
internet
to